coworker is an intelligent customer success partner.
Welcome to AI and the Future of Revenue Retention podcast, where we explore how AI is transforming customer success and revenue growth. I'm Susil, founder of Coworker. We work with revenue and customer success leaders to improve revenue retention using AI. Let's get started. Today, I'm joined by Katie Nelson, VP Customer Engineering Success, a cross-functional CS leader who has led customer success across multiple organizations, aligning product roadmaps with client goals to drive revenue, NPS, and the growth. Hey, Katie, thanks for joining. Welcome to our podcast.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Just to get started, so that our viewers will know whom they are listening to, if you don't mind, just quick introduction, that would be great.
Sure. I'm Katie Nelson. I lead the customer success organization at Anaconda.
Awesome. So I think at a high level, if you can explain your overall revenue retention strategy or your playbook or structure, whatever you want to call it, but how do you see this overall revenue retention strategy?
Yeah, so the way that we've structured it here at Anaconda is, of course, like most SaaS companies, you have a dense amount of revenue that is concentrated within several accounts or maybe even several hundred accounts, and then you have a long tail of revenue that's scattered across maybe thousands or tens of thousands of customers. And so it's not a one size fits all approach in terms of how you go and retain that revenue. Of course, we need to put high touch, very high engagement on our top tier customers, quite simply by revenue. Those are customers that at the end of the day, the business can't afford to lose. And so we have what we call kind of our high touch CSM team, which includes commercial and enterprise customers. Of course, the size of the book really matters. And so we not only look at the number of customers that a CSM has within their oversight, but also how much revenue density does that CSM have? Because we expect there to be more, the higher the revenue, quite frankly, we expect there to be the higher engagement. Within the Anaconda world, higher revenue typically indicates that there's more than one business unit who is doing work and getting value out of the Anaconda platform. And so naturally, you're more multi-threaded, you've got more stakeholder conversations, you may even be speaking to business units who don't speak to one another, and you as the CSM are kind of threading the needle to ensure that the solutions that we're delivering meet the needs of the company's objectives overall, while also meeting the needs of those individual business units. And so on that side, again, we drive high touch engagement. This includes, success planning, making sure that we're uncovering how the customer is measuring the success of the platform, what their overall objectives are. And then we use that success plan as a blueprint, if you will, through the course of the customer's journey. So we deliver QBRs based on the success metrics that they've outlined. Are we delivering on these metrics? Where we might be falling short? What does the customer owe us in terms of feedback on the value that they're receiving from Anaconda? And then, of course, on-site engagements, we have an executive sponsorship program here to make sure that our executive leadership team is tightly ingrained with our customers, not just to show up to calls, but to actually show up on site and provide the vision and provide the mission and be strategically engaged with these top tier customers. On the long tail side, something that I'm really proud of that the organization has stood up is our scaled customer success motion. And so we still believe that every customer deserves one-to-one outreach and have that a highly targeted approach, but we've got to scale it with thousands of customers that spend under a certain revenue threshold. You simply can't scale customer success by adding more CSMs when the revenue or the book size just quite simply doesn't warrant it. And so there we leverage a tool that I absolutely love. It's called Vitally, to manage our highly targeted but highly scaled outreach to those tier of customers. And then we're always available via office hours or direct customer engagements when needed.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. And that's where all these new technologies and everything can help us actually scale our customer success for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So if you look at from more like a churn or expansion opportunity perspective, how well or proactive, and of course the word proactive is arguable, right? How do you know that some of the customer might have a risk for churn or might have an opportunity for expansion?
Yeah, and I think, as you mentioned, in the world of AI, we're always trying to look for signals faster, signals that are better, signals that are more actionable, right? The reality is, especially with our top tier customers, a lot of those signals are coming directly from the customer themselves, right? We have regular touch points with them, regular engagements. We know when we're highly engaged with the customer if they're going to grow with us or if there's risk. And we're identifying that risk and those opportunities on a very regular cadence. On the scale side, we really have to rely on the data that we receive from how the customer is utilizing the product. Are they taking advantage of additional features and functionalities outside of what the core product offers? Are they onboarding new users onto the product? Are they, in our case, downloading more packages? And what are the interesting use cases that they're doing with the packages that their teams are downloading? And does that give us opportunity to signal for additional use cases that are coming on board? Oh, this is a group that of packages that doesn't look like what they've done in the past. Is that a signal that they have a new project coming on board, or they have a new team of data scientists or ML ops engineers that are coming on board to Anaconda, and that's an opportunity to go upsell. So really trying to look at the indicators in any kind of an automated way, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm still a firm believer that that individual touch point is where you're going to always have your best view into whether an account's going to
Yeah.
grow or whether they're going to be at risk.
Yeah, absolutely. How about those low touch customer, right? Where you don't have you cannot afford to have all the CSM have the high touch with them.
Yeah, there we're really reliant on the product utilization data, as
Mm-hmm.
well as we're building out a framework right now to allow to bring in, basically we're trying to produce an accurate, actionable customer health score. And most companies have either done something similar or are constantly trying to do, the same thing to get not just individual CSMs to action, but also SLT, ELT, and the board an overall view of how healthy is our customer base. It's not an
Mm-hmm.
easy thing to do with thousands of customers
Absolutely.
and so many different ways in which they can navigate through the product. But really there we're looking for, product utilization. How are they moving and grooving through the product? What do historical kind of benchmarks say? And then also using that data to create those benchmarks for the successful customers of these customers are getting the maximum amount of value out of our solution. How do we now bring up the long tail of customers to achieve that as well? Like what are the always looking for that sweet spot of the combination of criteria that indicates that a customer is healthy, and same thing on the churn side. What does that criteria look like that when all placed together gives us that early signal that
Mm-hmm.
there could be a risk coming, and surfacing that in time for us to go mitigate that risk before it's too late.
Mm-hmm. That sounds really incredible. Generally, I mean, in some of the cases, or in many cases, actually, the churn and expansion kind of is not only because of our product, because of how they are using, but there are a lot of external factors also, right? Do you have any, I'm just can I enlighten anything on you are using any external signals, like, let's say they're hiring a lot of people, they're laying off or whatever, whatnot, right? Is there anything that you are working towards that?
Absolutely. So we pull in from all sorts of sources, as you can imagine, right? LinkedIn Navigator, we use Pocus. Like I mentioned,
Mm,
we've got Vitally that are surfacing us like real time information on the status
mm,
of our customers outside of just the Anaconda world, right?
mm,
Our companies, in the world of AI, companies are constantly spinning up and going away.
mm,
And same with projects. And so we're closely tracking, especially right now, our customers' AI initiatives, because
mm,
Anaconda perfectly fits into driving solutions for our customers, not just to have AI initiatives, but to actually
mhm,
successfully deliver the projects that they're working on into production so the business can
mm,
see the ROI from those initiatives that are
mm.
coming to fruition. Um, and so in doing that, we're constantly looking just for different ways to,
Yeah,
identify those risks and those additional opportunities with
yeah,
outside external resources. You know, there's always budget constraints, but there's always new projects being built at the same time. And so it's identifying, who are the budgetary owners and what are they
mhm,
working on, and how do
mhm,
we go better engage with those to make sure that they're seeing Anaconda as a necessary component to their
mhm.
developers' workflows.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And being you as an AI company, of course, help to do all of those things, right? For sure.
Right.
Sure, for sure.
Yep.
So okay, so based on what I'm hearing, honestly, this is really, really solid signaling system, right? In a way. So from some of them, you start saying that, well, I mean, in customer success, most of the things are reactive, right? Even though we have metrics and everything, still it's after the fact, right? So the only way to being proactive or pseudo proactive is basically how fast you can act on the signal that you got, right? So how is our efficiency, or if there's any challenges from we got the signal to take action to engage customer?
It's a great question because we always want to act quickly, but you don't want to react, right? And
Mhm.
so it's taking the signal and then still doing the deep digging to validate the
Mhm.
signal. Okay, the signals that they're hiring, this company is investing majorly in AI.
Mhm.
Great. What does that mean for us? Are they going to hire teams of AI, ML engineers? And if so,
Mhm.
those engineers will need a license to Anaconda to go, effectively build their workflows. Um, but just by creating a corporate AI initiative doesn't necessarily mean, more hands on keyboard. And in fact, it
Mhm.
oftentimes means less hands on keyboards. So taking that and being able to use it as a talking point or an engagement point with the customer to ask more questions, quite
Mhm.
frankly. And so I would say we're empowered to act quickly, but my feedback to the
Mhm.
team is always to do, that next level of research to validate what we're seeing and always lead with the questions and of course never assumptions.
Mhm. Absolutely. Would you think, is there any still, is there any roadblocks or is there any challenges on your team to act swiftly, from the time they get your signal, right? As you said, it may be additional research or admin or whatever the work that they need to do to engage customer. Do you see any challenges right now, or, or you feel you are pretty working pretty smoothly?
Oh no, there's always challenges, please.
Absolutely.
Of course, there's challenges. I think data accuracy is a challenge, and when you have, and then
Mhm.
also it's parsing through what's a signal and what's noise, right? Whether it's external data sources or internal signals that are coming to us with a book of business, right? You never just have one customer. So with a book of business, it's interpreting those signals, taking the time to do the further digging, and then crafting the message or the outreach or proposing the agenda to have the engagement to ensure that it's valuable to the customer at the end of the day. I mean, we are so curious. We want to know more and more about our customers, about what they're doing. But in every engagement that we have with them, we need to be sure that we're also giving. And so it's really important that whatever we give, we don't miss on the value of that to the customer.
Mhm.
And so I would say just with almost so many data points and validating across all of them now, there's some slowdown.
Yeah, absolutely. And with like thousands of customers, of course, the prioritization is, kind of critical, right?
Absolutely.
Outreach versus whom not. Okay. We kind of touched upon a little bit on AI already throughout our discussion, but is there anything else that you'd like to highlight? Maybe it will be very interesting to understand your journey of leveraging AI to reach to the point where you have reached today, right? Because yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, of course, all of us have AI has taken the world by storm, and almost nobody more than the teams who are in the tech industry selling the tech that builds AI and agentic flows and agents and whatnot. Um, to like the pressure and the benefit of being able to leverage AI just to do work more efficiently, but also more effectively. And I think it's the effective piece that took a little bit more time for the team as a whole, and quite frankly myself to come on to is like, yes, this is going to we all can all understand at surface level that AI is going to help us get work done faster, but is it going to help us be more effective in the work that we do? And I think fast forward to the surprise, absolutely it is, right? I just talked about all these systems that we have access to that have various data points that help us then see almost a full 360 of a customer. It's now getting into Claude, building projects and building templates. And then what's been so great about my team is our early adopters have been very open with the knowledge that they're sharing. And so they've built a project that helps them produce an executive brief for an ELT kind of executive sponsorship conversation. They're going to share that out with the rest of the team. These are the data sources that I use. Here's the command line that I pulled in from, and here's the project prompts that I gave it. Now make it your own, but here's a good starting point. And I think in the world of AI and the expectations of every organization today for your employees to take advantage of it, first standardizing on it, right? Like what tools are we using? Are there best practices for how we use it? What are the data inputs we are able to put into it? Now Claude connects with everything. And so how do we take advantage of those connectors in a responsible way to produce meaningful artifacts for our teams to go have more intelligible, actionable conversations with our customers? And then what from that content are we able even to produce in a professional manner to share out with customers directly? So it's
Sure.
incredible. And always my feedback to the team is always proofread, right? Like who hasn't been caught up in an AI, email at this point that we haven't proofread or doesn't have some like level of tone that you weren't intending to put off. And so there's that balance of, yes, let it work for you, but really don't allow it or don't enable it to work against you.
That's great. So I think I think the lot of our viewers who have not reached to the automations of your level, they will definitely benefit from here. Uh, can you just quickly paint the picture how it was before the AI kind of implementation and now after AI implementation, so that people would kind of have some idea of what does it look like?
It's so crazy because it's not been that long, right? But even to think back
Mm-hmm.
at what was it like before? I mean, um, building decks, right? For example,
Mm-hmm.
we all have to build decks all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
even for me, I can understand, I know the strategy that I want to relay. I know my point of view. I have the data points, but formatting a deck is so painful for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a creator, I'm not a marketer, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
like a deck building whiz. And so taking something that would take hours to build by sourcing the content from several
Mhm.
different places, right, within our user interface, our administrative portal, pulling in external comms on these customers that help the customers see and help us understand like what's going on in the broader world of the customer base, um, has all been very time consuming in the past. And now
Mhm.
when you're able to pull all of these artifacts together in a single view and produce at least an outline and a general overview and apply your corporate branding to it, you're
Mhm.
going from 8 to 20 hours of deck building to a producible shareable content within an hour or two.
Mhm. Okay, that's great. Um, okay, now one more question I have in this area. Let's say, we is there for the people who have not actually gone through that journey, do you have any kind of suggestion for them, or do you see any pitfalls, or actually there is any side effect of you actually using AI? Anything that you want to kind of enlighten our viewers?
Side effects to using AI, I think, like I mentioned, it's just making sure you're reading through it, putting it in your voice, that you're
Yeah,
able
yeah,
to articulate the information
yeah,
that's in
yeah,
there. Because
yeah,
if you didn't read it, chances
yeah.
are whoever you're going to give the content
Mhm,
to is going to read it. And if you can't
mhm,
explain it, or it
mhm,
didn't make sense, or it was, you've got to make sure that you're still giving it at least a once over. And it's your work at the end of the day, right? No one's going to point back to Claude and say, why did you produce this
Yes,
this
yes,
material? They're going to come to you and say, if
absolutely.
you can't defend your point of view with the data that
Yeah,
you highlighted, then
yeah,
it's a you problem.
yeah, yeah, yeah. How about the governance part of it? Like, what's the data you pull in? How do you pull in? What's the kind of I guess uniformity across the board. Somebody may be using something, somebody may be using something in their own prompts and all this. How is that a challenge from the governance perspective?
I'd like to say it's not a challenge from a governance perspective because we have a really strong IT team and legal team here who give
Mhm.
us the guardrails and put the guardrails in
Sure,
place for us
sure,
automatically,
sure,
right? Similar to
sure.
what Anaconda provides for our enterprise customers,
Hmm.
giving guardrails so developers can
Hmm.
accelerate it, can
Hmm.
accelerate their velocity and time to production of the work. I
Hmm.
I feel like our team does that here for our use of AI. They put the guardrails in place. We know
Hmm.
what we can connect, we can't connect, everything else is shut
Sure.
off from it. And so it
Hmm.
allows us to just work at as fast as Claude will let us
Hmm.
work, or as fast as these
Hmm.
AI apps will let
Hmm.
us work without having to
Hmm.
worry about it.
Awesome, awesome. Okay. Last question. So for 2026, I know it's already quarter gone. What's your goal at a high level from your customer success point of view, and with all the changes that's happening around the world?
Oh, my goal is to just continue to create happy customers, right? At the end of the day, I think there's an insurmountable number of tools and apps and ways that we can do our work differently. But as someone who's grown my career in customer success, to me, there's nothing that trumps the value of a
Mm.
human to human relationship. And we see that, right? We see the difference that it makes when we engage with a customer on a Zoom call, but even more so when we meet them in person on site, when
Mm.
you shake their hand, when you take them to lunch, right? Anybody who's been in CS knows that when you're on site with a customer and you have that opportunity to just engage directly, you get more than you'll ever have in a Zoom meeting or an email transcript. And so my goal is to continue to really be able to highlight the importance and the value of personal relationships and the work that we do, and know that a lot of times, companies never leave, customers never leave because of their CSM, right? Like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
product may not be a fit. And like while we'll
mm,
do everything that we can, at the end of the day, you want customers to
yeah,
continue to come back for the value. And while a customer may have never left because of a CSM, I can cite so many examples over the course of my career where
mhm,
customers actually stayed because of their
mhm,
CSM and
yeah,
worked through
mm,
like challenging
mm,
technical issues or
mm.
escalations. And again, I just think that the value of the relationship to me, it hasn't been diminished in the world of AI.
Absolutely. And with that same note, basically, our goal is also how we can empower CSM with the information and with the automated action so that CSM can have a time to engage customer on a personal level. So I think we kind of
Exactly.
agree on that term. So thank you so much for time. Really appreciate it. I think it was really valuable. I think people will be motivated by your work on a AI journey that they will benefit from it. So thank you so
I
much.
hope
Really
so.
appreciate it. All
Absolutely.
right.
Thank you.
Feel free to contact us if you want to learn more about how I can help customer success.